Hey.
There are certain commemorative days that exist in the Jewish calendar that are celebrated by custom, that are wholly created by the people themselves and do not find any basis in the Talmud or an original halacha. One is Simchat Torah, which is really Shmini Atzeret, but the customs of Simchat Torah have overwhelmed Shmini Atzeret completely. The other is Lag BaOmer, which we will commemorate tonight. The only no specific reference to Lag BaOmer, except the Gemara says that on the 33rd day of the Omer, the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva, that was the last day that they perished. You know, Mitzvah Sayom Kikulo, so Lag BaOmer is already past the deadline. So Al Pi Halacha, the only observance of Lag BaOmer is that one is allowed to shave and take a haircut, listen to music. The restrictions of Aveilus are relaxed and Lag BaOmer. But over the centuries, Lag BaOmer by custom has taken on a life of its own. And so originally, I remember it yet as a child, Lag BaOmer was bows and arrows. The Jewish children got a bow and arrow and they went out into the open field or a park and they shot the arrows. Now, what has that got to do with Lag BaOmer? So it seems that this is in line with the tradition. There are different traditions about the Omer, different traditions as to why the 24,000 Talmidim, why we commemorate their death. So one of the traditions is because they were involved in the Bar Kokhba rebellion, the great rebellion against Rome, 135, that was successful for 4 years. That Bar Kokhba, we conquered Jerusalem, we drove the Roman legion out of Jerusalem, and he even set the foundations to clear the ruins to build the third temple. And then the situation changed, internal dissent, and the Romans mounted an enormous effort to reconquer Jerusalem. And Bar Kokhba was killed finally in the rebellion. And that was the last spark of Jewish independent nationalism until 1800 years later. So, as a remembrance to that rebellion, the bow and arrow became the symbol of Lag BaOmer, as a symbol of the Jewish rebellion and of the warfare that was conducted against Rome. And at that time, the archers were what artillery is today. And that's why it became part of La Vogue. Second custom that arose is bonfires. Where did that custom arise? And why is it permitted? So apparently that custom also is associated with the time of Rabbi Sheni and the time of Rabbi Akiva's Talmidim, because they had a system. The Gemara Rosh Hashanah teaches us that in order to let the Jews in Bovel know what day Rosh Chodesh was, because it was decided in Jerusalem. So they lit bonfires, a series of 10 bonfires from Jerusalem until it reached the valley of the Euphrates. And then they would know when Rosh Chodesh was. One of them is Sartava. You can see that mountain if you go up Route 90 towards the Kinneret. So as a remembrance of that, so on a moment they lit bonfires. Again, it's a reminder of what happened in Second Temple times. And immediately after Second Temple times, the times of Bar Kokhba, etc., Rabbi Akiva. And that this was therefore the method for remembering that tradition. However, this custom of bonfires ran into great halachic opposition, because basically it's about tashtis, it's a needless fire, and it also was objected to in the non-Jewish world. They were suspect that the Jews were trying to burn down the town, and especially since most of the towns were tinder, burned very easily. So very often, unfortunately, things happen. So we find in Halacha, for instance, that Rabbi Yaakov Emden objected strongly to that custom. And Rabbi Yosef Shoel Levi Nathanson, the Shoel Meshiv in Lemberg and Galicia, objected even more strongly. And because of that, for instance, in certain communities, Lithuania bonfires were almost never seen. But it was a custom in Central Europe and in parts of Galicia. And it has become a predominant custom here in Israel. In our time, there are other problems to it, environmental problems, pollution, air pollution, and also danger. And the city of Jerusalem this year took extraordinary measures to prevent bonfires. Last night, the garbage men ran around the whole city taking down all the wood that had been stored up for weeks by the children. But that custom, let's put it this way, it dies hard. And people value customs much more than they do other things. Yaakov Emden again, his ironic fashion says that it's too bad that Lo Tigno is not a milah. said it would be observed more scrupulously. So that was another custom. Then you have the third custom, that it is somehow the anniversary date of the death of Shimon ben Yochai. Shimon ben Yochai was the great Tana, the Rosso Unoso, and according to the tradition of the Ari and the Kubolin, he's buried in Har Meron. And that's where the grave is. And the tradition also was that he passed away on Lag BaOmer. So in the Gemara, we find that the commemoration of the death of a near relative, Rahman al-Islam, is that the surviving relatives have a fast day. Not a feast day, but a fast day. When the Mekubalim became much more popular in the Jewish world in Kabbalah in the 16th century, and then later in the 18th century when Hasidus came into the world, so they took that the death of a tzaddik was not to be seen, so to speak, as a mournful, sad event as it is, but that it is the beginning of the ascent of that great soul to heaven, where that soul will be a positive influence on behalf of the Jewish people and on behalf of one's nearest and dearest. And this was called a Hilula. Hilula, it's like Hallel, praise. So instead of being a fast day, it became a day that was marked by bringing a kiddush to shul, feasting together, a family meal. It became a joyous day. And in many Hasidic circles, the anniversary of the death of certain rebbes, so you don't recite Tachnun on that day. It's been transformed almost into a semi-holiday, which again is pure custom. And the halacha, it's very hard to substantiate it, but Zemashiesh, so that even under the most ordinary of circumstances, people have a yard site, so they bring orange juice and a kichel to shul, etc. Which again, if you think about it, is incongruous. But the good thing about us is that we don't think about things. The Shoel of Meishuv, there's a lady Nathanson, one of the great Gaonim in the 19th century. So he went so far as to say that if the Beis Yosef and the Ramah were alive, then they would not allow these observances of Lag BaOmer. Because he said we don't see it anywhere in the Shulchan Aruch. We don't see any mention of it. Now, what is interesting is that not only is the tradition that Rav Shimon ben Yochai died on Lag BaOmer, but the tradition in Europe, in Krakow, was that was the death date of the Ramah of Moshe Yisraelish, who was the Rav of Krakow and the basic pillar of Ashkenazic halacha, the author of the Mappa to the Shulchan Aruch. There was a tradition that he died, he was 33 years old, he wrote 33 Svarim, and that he died on Lag Bomer. Probably most historians say that he was older than 33, so he did die at a very young age. The outside number is 42. And we do have at least 33 Svarim from him, though we have, depends how you want to slice it up, we could have more. But on the tombstone it said Lag Bomer. And therefore it was a special day in Krakow. Commemoration of the passing of the sage. And again, it developed into not a day of sadness, but into a day of Gilula, praise of the dead, and the confidence that the soul of the departed would have an influence in heaven on behalf of the Jewish people. So Lag Bomer has taken on all of these different nuances, these different covers over the ages. We cannot argue with custom. Where it says Yuba regarding this, regarding certain customs that minig mevatel halacha. The custom even overrides the halacha. And it is the customs that have kept us as a people till today, that have given us national memory. And therefore, whatever the origins are, and whatever the facts and accurate story may have been, really is not relevant to us any longer, because the custom exists, it's the custom that keeps us, and that really therefore make Lag Bomer this special day of satisfaction and joy and commemoration that all of us will experience tonight and tomorrow. Hanani ben Akashi Omer Otzar HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Zakos is Yisrael, Leficha Kricha V'En, Kol Mitzvot Shenema, Adonai Chafetz Siman Tzidko, Yagbil Parodi Yagbil.